Previously on agentpalmer.com, a complete unknown does justice to Dylan's electrified 1965 revolution. Are you really chasing black unicorns? And things are cooking for Mark and the Tangent Bound Media Network. This is the Palmer Files, episode 148, with great friend to me and this show, longtime listener, first-time guest, Dan Evans. We talk about our shared experience looking for work, being prepared, the cost of creative things, and much, much more. Are you ready? Let's do the show! Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 148th episode is Dan Evans. Dan and I met almost a decade ago through shared online circles and met in person just recently. In the time in between, we've stayed in touch both on and offline, meaning we talk on the phone, and he's finally on the show, even though due to some technical issues, this was our second recording in the same evening. Nonetheless, Dan is an optimist, and he's doing all the right things, and he has experience in all things video production, so if you want to hire Dan, he's available for work. For now, during this episode, you'll hear us commiserate about job searching, the creative fields as career paths, expectations, many sides in the changing scope of production, and much, much more. But before we get there, remember that if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterwards, you can find all related ways to contact Dan and myself in the show notes. You should follow him online as he's one of the few people I know who's really trying to find the positive in the negative as often as possible. Don't forget, you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com. And of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. Dan, we have a lot of stuff in common. We have a bunch of fandoms. We obviously met through podcasting and an overlap of podcasts.
Yes, we have.
Recently, though, not the best of overlaps. We've both been looking for work.
Yes.
Or gainful employment, as opposed to just
gig employment.
Here a gig, there a gig, everywhere a gig. Although not everywhere, because if it was everywhere, we wouldn't still be looking.
Right.
It's been obviously years for me. I know it's actually, I'm coming up on 6 years since I last had like full-time 9-to-5 employment.
Corporate job. Yeah.
And I know you and I, in our life off mic, have been talking back and forth about what's next and where we go and how the job search is soul-sucking. And so I wanted to have you on because as a longtime listener, you've been bothering me about bothering's the wrong word, but let's just say that occasionally you will be like, how come not me yet?
Yeah. Because you and I have talked. I mean, we've been friends for almost 10 years now, and it's like, you know, in fact, it's funny because I finally met you after how many years when you came to my 50th birthday party.
It was just a couple of years ago. So
yeah,
last
year it was almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, okay, so all right. I know that you have been extremely supportive in terms of, I feel like there's not 2 weeks that goes by that I don't get a podcast producer job that you've seen sent to me. And I appreciate it, but a bunch of them are like, some of them are like in the fine print, you have to come like be in New York City 3 days a week. And it's like, all right, I'm out on that. And
yeah.
I know but I do appreciate the effort.
No, because I like, listen, you're good at this and you're good at what you do. And, you know, I think you should share your talents with the people that are out there that need someone like you that knows what the hell they're doing and can help direct a podcast and, you know, edit it together and go from there. So I'm sure Jason's going to be like, why didn't you send me this shit?
and I'm working on kind of expanding the catalog of people I work for. But I have not been as helpful to you, I think, since you have been looking for gainful employment, other than as a commiseration of sorts.
Yeah.
Which is probably also helpful.
Every little bit helps. And that's what people have to understand. It's like, I'm actually part of a job search council, which I found through LinkedIn. There's Phil Terry is the name of the guy. He wrote a book called Never Search Alone. And it's this idea of working with your network and also working with people who are outside of your network on how you can better your job search.
And is this, just because I don't know it, is this also like other unemployed people or is this just other people?
No, it's other unemployed people who are also looking for work. And what's good about it is that you all don't work in the same industry. Like I work in TV. I'm a video producer editor. And, my thing has been, some of the people that I work with are in marketing, so they understand the needs of places and agencies for people with my particular set of skills, if I want to take that line from Liam Neeson. And then there's also people, one of the guys that I work that was part of our group, he works on the educational side of things, but also on the research side, like educational scientific research.
Okay.
And so you never know who you're going to run into and how different set of eyes looking at what we're all doing can help you in your search.
Yeah, I probably should have used that more. I was a part of a house cleaning. So despite the fact that we were all of different thing, like my direct boss was fired with me. People in sales, I was in marketing, but people in sales were fired with us. Like there were a lot of, we didn't use it. Like, listening to you talk about this, and you were strangers with most of these people.
Strangers with every single one of them.
These are people that I was close with, that we all went through something traumatic. Because let's not beat around the bush. Losing a job or a contract of any kind, especially at one that you didn't know was coming to an end,
right?
Is traumatic. And I think we probably should have used each other more. I mean, we were there for each other as far as like the emotional support, but not as far as the actual searching. We didn't do that part, really.
True, but I mean, for me, it's more because I'm in the production side of things, and when I see people looking for podcast producers, and like me knowing what I know you can do, it's easier for me to just go, hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. Yeah. Because again, it's something that is either in the Philly market or the New York market or is remote, and that can help.
Now, have you? I can ask this.
Yeah.
You've looked for remote positions.
Oh yeah.
Have
definitely.
you encountered the remote in the listing, but not remote in practice yet? Yes. My favorite. I've told this story before, I think, but my favorite's I got called for an interview, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, you have to be in the office 3 days a week, and we're in Iowa." And I was like, I'm gonna cancel this interview.
Yeah.
That's you're never gonna pay me enough to make that work.
Yeah.
That's not remote, by the way.
It's remote, but
also, is there any? Look, I'm maybe in a Star Trek universe where transporters are second nature, and your commute is to get ripped apart at the atomic level and put back together within seconds or even minutes, that's fine. But I don't think there's a secret underground direct line from Pennsylvania to Iowa in.
Yeah, and you're not Nightcrawler and can like bamf your way over to Iowa.
No, that would be amazing. So you are, I mean, obviously you're in a place where
I'm in South Jersey, so I'm 20 minutes from Center City, Philly.
But you're also within a reasonable time to New York. I was just pointing out, like, you're within two major markets, but it also means you're within two major markets. Like, there are pluses and minuses to being there.
Right. Yeah. You're 100%. And, you know, that's where some of the issues are that I'm running. I'm not willing to move because I have a daughter who's getting ready to go to college. I have a son who's still in high school. I moved in 2021 specifically to be in the school district that they're in.
Like, is there a part of you that, I mean, you've been in production for long enough. If I will make the caveat, if family wasn't involved, would you want to go to like the West Coast, or are you a, you know, Northeastern person? You know, like, because I spent 4 months living in North Carolina and decided that no, Northeastern corridor is for me. Like, I cannot live below the Mason-Dixon line. Like, it doesn't matter what my connections are. I just can't.
If I didn't have familial attachments, I could easily have moved to the West Coast. I almost did that back before September 11th happened, or right after September 11th happened. When was that? I'm trying to remember when I went out there, because I went out with one of my best friends from college, because he and I worked at the same place. And I'm like, hey, I want to go out and look at LA. I had a lot of contacts out there. I was able to go and meet with people. And I lined up about 10 interviews while I was out there. And the problem was nobody would hire me unless I was out there. And
but you couldn't go out there unless you were hired.
Job.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he wound up just going, screw it. I'm quitting my job and I'm just going to move out there.
Okay.
And he wound up moving there, living with a friend of my family's that I knew as a kid growing up, and he lived with them for a little bit, and then he lived with another friend's brother who had an extra room, and so he rented that room from him. And you know, took a while for him to get his feet underneath him, but he finally was able to get a job and wound up becoming very, very successful.
Now,
in my opinion,
do you spend? We're going to get back to the job search in a second, but like, I know that I started thinking about all of the happenstance that led me to the job I had just gotten let go from, because I had a habit of falling into opportunities.
Yeah.
As opposed to like seeking them out. Did you go down that road of like, I wonder how I'm going to fall into what's next?
No, I've always been one to set a goal, and basically I've achieved that goal.
Okay.
Until recently, I've achieved the goal to getting into every place that I set my heart to. You know, and that's the way that it worked out for me by chance and by luck, and the fact that I'm good at what I do. And I'm not saying that just to toot my own horn, you know.
Well, you did it for long enough. You would have had as a. You once told me it was a permalance, like freelance, but.
Yeah, I was permalance 16 years the last place I was at.
Yeah, so that you have to be good to not just become a freelancer. It's like, we use Dan sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that, and that's part of the job search council is you have to do a listening tour. So part of your homework for this thing for the council is you have to sit down and you have to talk to people that you've worked with in the past and have you basically give 3 questions. What did I do well? What didn't I do well? Or what could I done better? And what do you think I should focus on in the future?
Okay.
And it was great because it was, for me, I know my own limitations, but sometimes other people and other people also don't know what's going on behind the scenes when, like, one of the things people said to me is like, well, you should have put yourself out there. You should have really like asked for more responsibilities, and you should have asked for this, and you should have asked for that. And I said, I did. And at one point I was physically told by at one place, it's like, you're stepping out of your zone, buddy. You're just a freelancer.
Okay.
You know, and it was like, okay, never mind.
And then that's how, I guess the other big thing, because that's helpful not just for the searching but for the interviewing process, like how much of your own, I mean, we all have our own insecurities about ourselves, like, yeah, did you get the answers you were expecting as, you know, strengths and weaknesses basically that right. you have, or like other people were like, no, you're good at this, I don't know.
Now, one of the things that I learned about is that they said I should have taken more chances.
Okay.
Like with my editing and my storytelling, because I tend to play it safe, because I know when I do something and because again, it's one of those things, it's like hot water burn baby. You know, you make a mistake once or twice and you get reprimanded for it, and then you don't do it again.
Yeah.
You know, or you try to do something unique, you try to do something different, because it's like what I do is subjective. So what I might like or what somebody else might like are two different things. And
you probably want to double down on the safe bet, because it's really hard to try and, I mean, you're probably in during your permalancing career, how many quote unquote bosses did you have? Like, do you really want to take the time to learn the chances and the stretching you can do for these 7 that you can't do for these 3, but that kind of maybe will might be appropriate for those 4? Like that's a lot.
And let's not forget broadcasts and standards and the legal team.
Yes.
So you have to factor all of that in, and you have to be able to play. Like, especially if you work with somebody in particular, you know how, once you start working with them after a while, you understand what they like and what they don't like.
Okay.
And so that's where I would play it safe, is because I knew what they liked. I didn't take a chance because I knew if I got this, I'd get it done, we'd get it approved, we'd get it out. And that's one of the positives that people said about me, is that I was very, very good at getting things done, getting it done on time, and getting it done under budget.
So
and that's one of the reasons why I kept working.
So doesn't it, it's, I don't know.
It's
like
a double-edged sword.
I was going to say, how do you reconcile the fact that, like, had you taken more chances, you would have had things come back, and you would have maybe still got them out the door, but they wouldn't have been on time, or they would have been very close to deadline. You know, like, how do you reconcile that going forward, I guess? Like, do you want to take more chances? Do you like playing it safe? Like,
I do, but at the same time, like, one of the worst notes you can get when you're working on something, especially like, because I work with trailers and sales reels and stuff like that, and what happens is you get a creative brief, and they give you an idea as to what type of music, and what I'll expressly say is like, okay, what kind of music out there is something that you currently like? What is it something that you'd like it to sound like? Because this gives me an idea when I go on my music search as to what to look for.
Yep.
You know,
and also, I guess this would be where we talk about temp music it can be dangerous,
right?
Because if you line up something with a cymbal crash and then they change the music, it might not work.
Yeah, it changes your entire cut. I mean, I had an experience not recently, but like a few years ago, where I got brought in to help edit. Not edit. I was just supposed to be the producer on it. I got brought in to produce a sales reel for a company that was pitching. It was a pitch reel.
Okay.
And we got the creative brief from the company that is doing the pitch, that we're doing the work for. And so I got everything that they wanted. And we got it done. We got the cut done on time. We got the cut done. We had it to them. It gave them more than 2 or 3 days to go over it. They, and then because we got it to them we got it done on Thursday night. We sent it to them Friday. We had a meeting Monday morning. So they had more than enough time to look at it, go over it, everything. And they wanted, their creative direction was, we want this type of music. We want like a dramatic music. We want to cry at the end of this. We want nostalgia. We want the kids to, because it was a sporting item or for sporting equipment. We want to be able to, for people to reach back into the thing that made them want to play this sport to begin with.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. And it was a 4.5 minute piece. 4.5 minute pitch, beautiful music, kids playing the sport, from the olden times, kids playing the sport today, going in between, and then professionals playing the sport, non-professionals playing a sport, the Olympics with it. Because again, it's a sales reel, so we have less restraints because it's not going out of house. Send it to them, and we get into the meeting, and the meeting is, we could not have asked for a better cut. This is incredible. I mean, we cried 3 separate times. Like, it just, you literally, the thing that we wanted, you gave it to us.
But,
however, we want it more exciting. Could you make it more exciting? And we want to use this new music track. Can you find this? Like, I hadn't even heard the song. Somebody got it as a temp. It was because in the industry, like, a lot of times we'll get music before other people will, so that we could try to test it, so we could use it in a thing.
Yeah.
So there wasn't even like an audio or like a music only track with no lyrics on it.
Okay.
And so we had to figure out a way to fucking make this thing work. And we had now a week to get a whole new cut, whole new everything.
Yeah.
Done.
And it has to get approved, which is a separate entity of this new direction.
Right. And so we got it all done, and like literally, because it was Easter weekend, and all of a sudden I'm like, Easter's Sunday, I have my kids, like I had to like rearrange my entire thing. And then I get there and my editor doesn't show up. And so I'm like, screw it. And I went and jumped into a room that we'd worked in previously, and I remember that there were problems with the computer, because that was the only one that was on. And I was able to log into the project, and I worked like 12 hours. I finally got the music cut. I got the music cut perfectly. I was dropping in shots. I was making moves on the video. I was getting all of these things done. And I hit save, and I got the blue screen of death.
I mean, we don't talk enough about how frail everything we do is in relation to the technology we're working on.
What do you mean, Mr. Palmer? It's not like we had any type of technical issues with this.
I have no problem pulling back that. Yeah, we recorded an episode and a half, basically, and then lost it. And now this is
take two.
Take two, yeah. But it is one of those things where, like, I think I'm okay under pressure, but I work back to like people's strengths and weaknesses. Like,
yeah,
I would assume most people would say I'm not that good under pressure. And the only reason I would say that is because most of the time I work so far ahead in such preparation to make sure I never have to work under pressure.
And that's so, like, what makes you an excellent producer. But that's exactly what I do.
But that's also what also makes it. Makes the under pressure worse, because like, well, I did these 17 things to make sure that this didn't happen, and all of them failed, and here we are.
Because that'll happen regardless.
That's true.
I mean, I did a shoot in Florida for a sports network, and I literally got it. I had less than a week to prepare for it, so I had to book the entire crew. I had to like get everything together. I had to pre-build as many of the graphics that I could. I had to get as many things as I could possibly prepare for. I did. Booked craft services. First person I booked was craft services. booked three camera shoot, made sure that I would be able to set up with our production crew that was already down there. Hey, can we shoot here? Can we do this? Can we shoot with these guys? What, got everything cleared literally in like 4 days.
How often? I mean, you were Permalance for a long time.
Well, no, I was staff at this place.
Okay, so but even with the Permalance stuff, how often hey, we have a week? Can somebody because
oh yeah,
your story is not I'm having just ranted about always being prepared and trying to make sure I'm not under the gun. I hear so many stories within production of, well, we only had a week when we decided to do this. Like, is it
because
really that common?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't understand how much goes into creative. Like, really, the logistical side of it. Like, okay, well, because what'll say, hey, we want to do this. This is what we want to do. We want to do a video for our product, and we want to promote it and like throw it up on our website and stuff. And this is what we're thinking. This is what it is. And it's like, okay, well, how much money do you want to put behind it? And they go, it's going to cost us money. And we'll give you $100. I'm like, yeah, that's not even to get my foot out of the door. But it's not. I mean, I jokingly say that because a lot of people don't understand how much creative, like truly creative stuff costs. And like, if you want it shot well, you're going to need a lighting crew. You're going to need a camera operator. You're going to not only need a camera operator, but a director of photography, because they're going to know how to set up the camera and the lights. And, we're going to need a makeup person if you're going to have somebody on camera. We're going to need a sound guy. We're going to need a boom. We're going to need the equipment that goes with all of this stuff. We're going to need grips. We're going to need, craft services, which is the people that feed us. And like, that's all the stuff that you have to figure out. You get, okay, how many cameras are we going to use during the shoot? Are we going to need a crane camera? Are we going to need, because all of this stuff costs money.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's where you do the pre-production. Okay, let's write a script. Let's get a script together. Let's get an idea together. Let me give you some ideas. And that's when you write a pitch. And so you get your pitch together and you get that together. And then it goes from there. And then once they settle on an idea, okay, what do we, like, because sometimes you'll go to them and like, oh, we shot this stuff a while ago. Can we use this? And I said, well, let me watch it and let's see what I can work with. Because if I can take video that you've already shot and I could create a video out of it and tell a story with it, it'll save you a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
All you need is me, and I'm an editor, so you just need me as an editor. But if you need graphics, I'm not the best at graphics, so I'm going to ask you if you could spend a little bit of money to have a graphics guy do it. Well, we already have a graphics package. We had this stuff in. Okay, you could send me the After Effects project, and I'll be more than happy to do that. I can manipulate it and change the titles and stuff. Do you have all the fonts? Like, it's stuff like that you'd have to sit down and go over with them so they have an idea as to where their money goes and what it's used for and how it can be used and best, the best practices. And I tend to always put about 15% extra in with all of my budgets.
Okay.
At least 15 to 20%. Because if you go over your initial costs, you've covered yourself.
Okay, that's fair.
If there's any money left over, you look like a fucking genius.
Okay. Well, so you clearly have good knowledge base for not only what you do with editing, but producing, and you understand the process.
Yeah.
So you could have any job you want. I mean, I don't know like what you want, but like you could be a producer or a director or an editor. Like you could be a sound guy. Like you could do all of these things.
Right.
And as you're looking, are you looking for all of these things? For one of these things? For some of these things?
I'm looking for some of these things because, it's what's the saying? A jack of all trades is a master of none.
Correct.
Okay, so I know I'm a great producer. I'm a good editor. I'm a good writer, but I am not a good graphics guy. I'm not a graphic designer. I didn't go to school for graphic design.
Okay.
You know, I went to school for video production. You know, and so that's what I'm good at. You know, I can do a little color correct, but I'm not a color correction artist, because those guys, I mean, I have friends that are color correction artists, and I had one guy that he was one of the best in the business, and they would hire him to go into sets and tell them what was going to be, what they were doing wrong lighting wise and color wise, so that they could correct it before they did their shoot.
Yeah, I have a friend who's big on color correction, and he's self-taught, but like even when we have a conversation, I think after 20 seconds, I'm usually lost. Like, I have a general idea. I can follow. I understand some of the words that are coming out of your mouth, but I'm a little like, whoa. But that, it's a thing.
We're going to push the chroma. We're going to crush the blacks. We're going to make it pop a little bit. You know, that's like, I worked with a guy that was an audio mixer, and he said that one of the weirdest things that ever happened to him was the day he worked with somebody that had synesthesia. Do you know what that is?
No.
They see sound as colors.
Okay.
And he said, could you make it a little more orange?
I don't know.
And he didn't know what he meant.
I don't know what that's like.
I thought that was the funniest thing ever. And they're like, apparently no, it's something that people, they see color. They see sound as a color. And so when they say, could you make it a little more purple? How about a little, can you change the hue on this sound a little bit more? And that's how they mix, because they're seeing it. Like, they close their eyes and they see colors when they hear sounds.
That I feel like that would make it a little bit easier to do some editing, actually.
Yeah, it might be to be a little better with audio, you know.
So you sound upbeat. Someone.
I woke up today, man. Every day I set feet on the ground and I wake up is a good day. And that's the way I approach it. Like, you got to stay positive, because it's really easy. Listen, it's not that I haven't been in dark places in the past, but you know, I've been fortunate enough to work in the video entertainment industry for well over 25 plus years. That's all I'm going to say. 25 plus years. Because,
and he got in when he was 15 and he's only 40. It's not that I met him at his 50th birthday party.
I got in when I was 5. No, I did get in when I was in my teens. I'm not gonna lie about that. But it's been, and so much has changed. And that's the other thing is, like, I've gone from working with 3/4 inch tape to working with beta tape to beta cam to working to digital beta cam, and then going to high definition. Then it was DVC Pro. Then it was, you know, HD, like there was 3 different types of HD tape. Okay. So DVC Pro was like the smaller, and then there was HD cam, and then there was another one that I forget. And it's like, and then all of a sudden the tsunami wiped out all of those tape factories in Japan, and everybody suddenly went to full digital. Yeah.
So on a slightly unrelated note, do people care about your experience I don't mean like to denigrate it, but like, do people care that you know how to cut? I mean, I haven't done it in a while, but you know how to cut tape?
I've never cut tape. I've always gone tape to tape.
Okay.
I've never had to use like the razor blade. Yeah, the razor blade. I've never had to do that. I've always gone tape to tape. It helped me get work. It helped me keep work, because I came out of Kutztown knowing how to edit, just do a basic edit. And the fact that I could do it by myself, my bosses loved when I went to one place.
Okay.
You know, and that wound up helping me and hurting me, because I was able to pick up stuff quickly, and then I would have to train everybody else.
See, I imagine, and this is just from my limited experience in audio, that my experience from when I was in my teens and I was using tape to tape, and we were using physical media, has kind of changed the way I look at all of my audio. Like, I don't I, you know what I mean? Like, I know people that will just record.
Yeah.
Well, I'll stop it. Well, I mean, it's just another gigabyte. It's fine. Like, and there's still a mindset in me that's like, yeah, you only have 90 minutes on this tape. Like, and I know that this hard drive will allow us to talk for another 7 hours, Dan, but like, I'm not good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
Right. Like I checked how much space I have on my hard drive, not my external hard drive, because we ran into that problem. So I'm like, I'll throw it on my regular hard drive. Yeah, I've got 48 gigs left. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go through and figure out what I can get rid of on my computer to give myself more space.
But but I think about that. Like, you came from physical media. Like, do you still kind of think in terms of like finite?
Yeah, because there's never, even with an external hard drive, you're still going to have a limited amount of time, especially depending on how you're shooting. And like, if you're shooting, 8K or 4K over 2K, and that's all high definition terms. So yeah, that takes up more space. That takes up more physical space. So you have to factor that in, because that's all you're going to need, all of that storage, not only to shoot, but also to store it.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of like the editing process, where like I shot a short. It's not a short film. It's a short.
Right.
And I tried to get a bunch of angles, so I was using I shot it with phones, okay, people? It's going to be in 1080 when I do it, but like I shot...
Do you know how many people have shot movies with phones?
But I'm just saying, so I shot a bunch of things. I tried to get as much as possible, with the exception that I also didn't want just to have to edit. Like, I wanted the editing process to be like, these are my 4 shots, and I have a little bit on either side, and it's like... But even moving from audio to video, like, I immediately went to like, I could just set up 4 cameras or phones and let them run. I have that ability, but I don't want to have to go through 4 hours of footage.
True. However, you then have enough stuff to cover yourself. Like, that's always the thing. Like, the more coverage you have, the better off you are.
That's fair. And as we record this, I have started the editing process for that finally, but
and this is where the changes and the differences have come in, because when you used to work with tapes, you used to have to sync your cameras. And you had camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. So camera 1 started with 1 hour, camera 2 started with 2 hour, and camera 3 started with 3 hour. So their time code, you knew, okay, those were, so camera 1, it was 1 hour time code.
So as opposed to saying like, hey, I want this shot at 10 minutes, and you're like, which 10 minutes? Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. Okay.
Exactly. But now people today don't do that, because you could always just sync it up by, I need file number this. Well, this is the file number. What's your file number? What's your file number? And they might, a lot of like professionals keep it in sync. Non-professionals don't. Or if you're running and gunning, you don't. You just shoot and you go. But that's where, a big difference is. Also, you got to factor in so many places, like so many people, I'm just going to shoot raw so I don't have to do a white balance. It's still good to do a white balance. You always, like, to me, you always want bars and tone. You always want white balance, So, but that's me.
We've talked on both sides of the camera. Yeah. Well, not both sides of the camera, but both sides of the editing, the shooting and the editing.
Yeah.
Do you want to get on the other side of the camera too?
I used to.
Okay.
I mean, I could probably still do it. I'd have to lose a shit ton of weight, but I could probably still do it.
As you're looking for all these things, and it is like quite a few bubbles, and the Venn diagram looks more like a weird thing from like an advanced physics class than it does a circle. But you have all these options.
I'd rather stay behind the mic. I like using my voice to tell stories as well.
Okay.
I'd love to get into cartoon voiceovers, but
do you know any? How's your animation?
My animation sucks.
Okay.
But I know how to make voices. The thing that I run into and this is why I decided to go into this side of the industry, the production side of things, is because, I started off as a kid performing on stage. And then I learned how to start doing, part of doing that is helping build the sets. And my best friend was in bands growing up, so I was always hanging out at his house, and his dad had money. So like when he was 16, instead of getting a car, he got a 24-channel stereo mixer.
Okay.
And so I learned how to mix audio, live audio, and then I learned how to set up all the equipment and break it down and do lights, and taught myself how to do lights. So it's like, and then people were like, you know how to do that? We'll pay you to do that. And so my dream of being on the other side, for as much as I love performing, it didn't make sense because I could make money doing the technical side of stuff.
Okay, so how are you at letting go, though? Like if I said, Dan...
I just did the producers last year, man. I still haven't let go. I got on stage for the first time since college and performed, and, and it was funny because when I did it, I went to the director and I'm like, I'm thinking of this for this character. I want to shave my head in a Caesar ring. I'm going to shave my beard down to a mustache, use some mustache wax to darken it in just for this scene, and then everything else will go from there. And her response was, okay, you don't have to do that. I'm like, no, but this is the way the character would be. This is a character choice.
Yeah, but that's directing. That's one thing. But like, could you from the stage, like, are you like, okay, that light should be different, and maybe my sound should be a little bit more, and I need a little bit more out of this monitor. Like, can you?
No, because then I'm more focused on what am I doing on stage? Am I doing this right? Is this okay?
So you can let go a little bit. Like you're not just immediately going like, all right, even though I am on this side of the camera, I am still absolutely thinking about all the other jobs I could be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because I've been able to, like, because I've been an actor and I've been behind the camera and I've given direction, that I can compartmentalize what I'm doing.
Okay.
And if I'm working with the director, I'm not going to question the director, but I will offer, like I said, like that, at that point, I will offer a suggestion. And even to the point where when I was in college, I did a play called Assassins, and I played Lee Harvey Oswald. And the way the director had us interacting, because there's a big scene between Booth and Oswald. It's like this whole surreal thing. And having done my research on Oswald, I went to my professor who was directing, and I said, is there any way that we could change this? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, because I know Oswald was very confrontational. He wasn't afraid to get into a fight. He wasn't afraid to get in somebody's face. I said, and the way that you have us is there's never really a confrontation. I said, in the whole show, there's no real confrontation until this point. I see, and his response to me was, if it works, we'll keep it in.
Okay. So you can try it. Like, I mean, it's you get a shot. If I like it, let's go. And if not, we're not.
And we kept in the show.
Nice.
But that taught me how to direct, or that taught me how to take an idea of how something works and go from there. Like, I never worked in promos before I started working at one place because that was never an idea. Like, when I went in for the interview for this place, they said to me, okay, so have you ever done promos before? I'm like, promos? Like commercials? They're like, no, promos. Like next on, tonight on, tonight on ABC or tonight on XYZ. Like, no, but I can do it. And they brought me in to help relaunch the look of the channel. They brought me in for 3 weeks. And then I wound up staying there for 7 years.
I mean,
I wound up getting on staff. Like, I was started as a freelancer and then wound up making it to staff. But it was one of those things where 3 days or 4 days into my first week there, I had to go record with a voiceover artist in a booth. We had to revoice all the Next-Ons and Tonight-Ons that were on that channel, or on all the channels. And then, they had to be in a certain, they had to get them between this time and this time. Yep. This amount of time, this amount of time.
I mean, it's really tough too, because it's like, all right. And I know even from my limited time in commercial spaces.
Yeah.
Like, you have 8 seconds.
Yeah.
And you don't really have 8 seconds because sometimes there's a fade out. So you only really have 7 point. I mean, it's different when it's your channel. You may have actually 8 seconds, but you have 8 seconds. And when you
depending
think 8
upon the
seconds
style guide,
well, I was going to say
you might have more like 4 seconds.
I was going to say
you have 3 seconds for the intro and then 3 seconds for the outro plus the fade. So that's 3.5 seconds. So you got 4.5 seconds.
And depending on what you want to say, it's really hard to get your point across in 4 seconds.
Right. And I actually had someone that I wound up taking over that taught me a formula for that. And that is for a medium to fast reader, they could get 3 syllables per second.
Okay.
For someone that has a more slower, more pronounced read, it's 2.5 seconds. And if it's Harry Callis, you have 1.5 syllables per read.
Yeah, I was going to say that's next.
So you have 1.5 syllables. Yeah. And if you have a 15-second drop in, you have exactly 20 words you can have Harry say in that time, including the call to action.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, okay, dangerous question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
Do you want to teach?
No, I never did porn. Damn it, Palmer, stop asking.
Do you want to teach? Like, I mean, it's, I don't know what you're looking at, but I mean, you have all of this knowledge.
One of the jobs that I applied for that I didn't get a call. One of my last interviews was for an open teaching position at a technical school.
Okay.
And I would have come in as under the, basically getting my certification while I taught.
Okay.
But I didn't hear anything back.
But is that equal for you in your search now to editing and producing?
My entire career, it's like basically I've learned how to do things and then I've had to teach other people how to do them. One place I worked, I worked on a big project over multiple seasons, and I was in charge of taking all the footage, all the behind the scenes footage that was shot, and organizing it for when we started cutting behind the scenes videos.
Okay.
And so we had to put it in not only location but character. We had to say the location, the character, whether it's VFX, slow-mo, wide shot, close up, medium shot. It's like you had to identify everything. And now they all use the way I set it up because it made the most sense and it worked best for them. And then when I first started working in another place, we were having a lot of stuff come in from out of house, and I was in charge of helping basically finish it to get it to air and QC it and quality control the spots, make sure like they met our standards. But the problem was that these companies were never given like a spec sheet. Like, hey, we need all the audio in 48K. We need, it needs to be 16-bit 48K audio. All the blacks have to be in this room. No higher than this. All the reds can be no higher than this. It has to start on the second. It can't be framed short. It has to be full seconds. Has to start on the 5s. And so just something simple as that. So what I did is I sat down and I went to my boss and I said, hey, I thought up of this sheet. Why can we start sending this out to all outside agencies that are cutting stuff for us or doing stuff for us?
Makes sense.
And so to this day, everybody that does work for that company gets a spec sheet.
It's kind of weird that didn't exist before you. I mean, I'm not trying to like diminish what you did, but like, how does that? I mean, maybe that's just the organization. It's where
it's just sometimes
it's our background. Like that's where we come from. Like we need to be prepared.
Or if it had been, it was just ignored.
Okay.
Or if it had been, it had, or somebody just said, oh yeah, we need it. These are our specs. This is how we need it. Because we would get promos in that, needed to be 30 seconds long and they'd be 27 seconds. and it's like, wait, we can't, we need time to do this. And then, just things like that. So like you always had to make sure. And like when we would have, when I was QCing stuff and helping people, like, because a lot of times I was brought in to finish edits.
Yeah.
And that's like and they're like, hey, we can't finish this. We have to jump on something else. We're going to give this to you. You could take over the reins and finish it for us and get it to air. And then they say, okay. And then I'd look at the graphics and it's like, you have a 5-second end page with all the information on it. And the graphics reel that you gave me only has 3 seconds of animated footage, which we cannot match. So like you have to figure all that stuff
out. And that's what we pay you. Yeah, I mean,
but I mean, and like that's the thing is like I know a lot of different things, and during the job search, I mean, the one thing that I've noticed too, and this is a subject that's come up on LinkedIn, is the fact that there are ghost jobs out there, and there's ghost jobs. So there's jobs that companies post to like gather resumes. There's no job really there. They're just getting resumes so that they can see if there's somebody available who's better than somebody that they have in-house. There's also a lot of unicorn jobs is what I call them. And that's a company that's looking, because like I write and produce promos, but I can also edit. So I have those 3 talents. But they want somebody that can write and produce, that can edit, that can direct, that can color correct, that can do After Effects, that can do motion effects, that can do 3D graphics. Hey, do you know anything about VR? Because we need a VR person as well. And they want to pay you $35,000 a year.
Yeah, they want to pay you entry level for all of your experience.
Entry level.
Yeah.
Dude, that's not even entry level anymore. That's less than minimum wage. Minimum wage at like $15 an hour, I think, is like $40,000 a year.
All right, so I want to shift real quick. So
sure.
When you go back to this, when you're talking about looking with other people in this jobs thing, do you guys talk about interview questions?
Yes, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
Right now we are, because we meet once a week, but with the holidays and everything, things have been crazy. And we also have lost 2 of the people because they actually wound up getting jobs. So we are reorganizing our group. And we're back up and running now. And now we're at the point in the book where we're reworking our resume and LinkedIn pages.
So I want to ask you an interview question, which is the one I struggle most with.
Okay.
Dan, what do you want to do?
What do I want to do? I want to storytell. I want to be able to put together things that not only entertain people but also educate people, and I want to be able to do it in a short amount of time so that I don't lose their attention, and I want them to be able to learn to appreciate what's done. They're maybe throw in a little humor. Hey, it's that's what I want to do. I want to be able to storytell and sell a product and go home at the end of the day happy.
I'm going to write that down and workshop that so it works for my thing, which is stubbornly, I have basically the same answer, except I'm not willing to make it short. I'm still fighting the there are things that are I will argue that some movies are too long, but I will also argue that a lot of our content is just too short. And we need to get a little bit better at holding an attention span for 20 minutes, for 15 minutes or whatever. So I'm happy to be on the seesaw with you to keep it balanced between your short storytelling and my long storytelling.
Okay. In reality, what do I really want to do? I want to be a stand-up comic again and do voiceover for cartoons, and that's really what I would love to do. Create different characters and get it out there. Breaking into voiceover is probably one of the most difficult things that you can do.
When was the last time you did stand-up?
2011.
Okay. But
Wait,
have you?
That was the last time I did an open mic. The last time I did an actual stand-up show in front of a crowd with other comedians was in March 8th of 2006.
Now, since then,
have
you been? Do you keep writing material?
Yes.
So you still have ideas. So you still have a notebook and you still save them.
I have notes on my phone, and I come up with ideas and I write them down and I save them. It might even just be like one line.
Yeah, but it's a start or it's an end. I mean, depending on the line, if it's funny, that's probably a punchline somewhere. But yeah,
I mean, like I was like, and a lot of stuff comes from real life conversations and little real life experiences that I've had. Like, one time I was talking to a friend of mine, and I always have this idea of like firsts. Like, who was the first person that really looked at a crab or a lobster and thought, we can eat that, And his response was, yeah, but who's the sick fuck that thought they threw it in boiling water would taste even better? I like the way it screams. It makes it so much more succulent. And there's your joke.
I'm here for it. And I guess in the meantime, if you just want to create an album first, if you don't want to do it like everyone else, if you want to create an album first, Dan, I'm here for you.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, that's all part of it. I mean, it's funny to see when I was in college, when I went through orientation in college, I probably told this story on another podcast at some point. I feel like I've told it a lot because I tell it to kids who are thinking about getting it. I've said it to my son a million times. When we were brought into a room, there were probably about 50 kids in an auditorium, and the professors down at the bottom would go, okay, you 25, you go over here to the left. You go all the way to the left, stop right there. Okay, you 15, you go down there. Okay, you're going to go over there. You're going to stay on the left-hand side. All right, so now we got 10 people left. You 5 go up here, and you 5 go down there. Okay, so there we're all split up in different rooms. He goes, those 25 people over there, they're going to be people that drop out of college. Those 15 people over there, they're the ones that are going to stay in college, but they're going to change their major. The 5 people up here are the people that are going to graduate in 5 years and not have a job in television. They're going to have to go out and find something else. And these 5 people down here, they may have a job in TV after 5 years. So if this is something that scares the crap out of you, then this is not the place for you to be. And I was in the 5 people that would have a job after 5 years. And I had a job for 20 plus, 25 plus. I'm not going any higher than that because ageism is rampant in the job search industry.
So this isn't where I tell people that we met for the first time in person at your 50th. That is not what I interject here.
Didn't we say that earlier, or is that on the first recording? Or no, that was in between. That was in between. But yeah, no, I've been in TV production for over 32 years because I started when I was in between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And it's like, I took as many opportunities as I could to advance myself and to learn. And that's the thing, is like, so much has changed, like I said, in the last
but you're really good
years.
At rolling with the punches because you're still doing. I mean,
right.
I would argue you have been in the industry through the most change in general that the industry has seen, technically at least, than it has in the 30 years prior. Or probably what we'll see in the 30 years hence.
That's wherein lies the problem, is because between the strikes and all the mergers that have happened and the rush to streaming and the total abandonment of linear channels by these companies because they want to get, the cable companies have had them by the balls because they would charge a fee for your channel to be on their cable company. And I know ESPN at one time was the highest that cable companies had to pay for a channel. So I think it was like at one point it was like $5.50 per person who had a cable, so that was like a major part of your cable bill was paying for ESPN. But the thing is people always complain because they always got channels that they didn't want. And so, like, hey, I don't want EWTN. I don't want the No Zone. I don't want all of these music channels. I don't want all of these porn channels. I just want these channels. There was no a la carte system. And so when streaming
by the
happened...
way, they haven't changed anything, by the way. Like,
no.
I don't know if you've looked at... recently,
and the prices have only gotten higher and higher.
And now that we've gone back to TV, in a sense...
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's actually scrolled through their, like we have Sling, but we also have Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
You could scroll for days with their quote-unquote live TV channel lineups now.
Yeah. And
never hit the same thing twice and probably forget where you were.
And still not find the thing you want to watch on TV at that time. That's always the joke I would make with my dad. He's always complaining, there's nothing on TV. There's nothing on TV. Dad, you have 45 channels. What's it going to be like when you have 500 channels? You're still going to complain that there's nothing on TV for you to watch. So you'll just turn on the freaking Weather Channel and fall asleep as usual.
I mean, look, right now it's just, channel surfing has just been replaced by scrolling in whatever app you choose to be in now. Yeah. And
the problem is too, is that, you factor in the changes and like we were saying, how fast things have changed. And like in 2008, there was a writer's strike. And that's when I first went freelance and I was out of work for 6 months in that year. I was out of work between January and March, and then I got a job from April through the end of July, and then I had nothing until the end of July, nothing August, September until the middle of October. And I was freaking out because I just got married, just bought a house, just had a kid, and here I am, the main breadwinner with no bread to win. And that was, that is when I had a dark time. And I was scared. This time
different.
Did you learn?
I mean,
because
you learned from the last time though that
right.
It didn't.
It'll come back.
Yeah, and the dark. I mean, that's the one thing. I'm a fairly negative person to begin with. I'm not
never.
But I'm not you. I don't wake up happy. But I also don't blame myself anymore, which I feel like is a step in the right. Like that's the first step.
Yeah.
In the right direction.
Yeah. It isn't easy, but like I don't wake up happy. But I wake up with a positive attitude. I wake up and do like a little meditation. Like today, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I have the best day that I can. I'm going to look forward to just getting a text from my kids today. I'm going to look forward to talking to my parents later. I'm going to look forward to reaching out to people that I haven't talked to in a while to see if they have any work. And hopefully I'm not a pain in their ass. I'm going to do a little bit of work on, in After Effects because I really want to learn how to do it better. I want to learn how to be better at it. So it's like I set up time for myself and I make sure that I try to focus. Do I do it every day? No. I am a procrastinator, and I will admit that I'm lazy.
Days.
I do it most days.
All right.
Yeah. And it's like, but I also do things like around my house. So it's like, okay, I got to do laundry. I got to get the basics done. I got to, I rewired a bunch of lights last year. I got a whole bunch of new lights in. I did a lot of work, and now it's like, okay, what's the next step? What do I have to do next? And then that's where I go from there. I try to work out whenever possible. I've been under the weather the last few days, and I burned the hell out of my hand cooking a few weeks ago, or about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's finally healing. So it's like things like that it's like I try to do as much as I can to stay positive and be positive. And I like, just doing a little meditation in the morning and focus on what I can accomplish in a day. And it's all I can do. It's interesting. I never understood why my ex-wife always had like a comfort show. Friends was her comfort show. She always watched it. She always helped her anxiety. And then Ted Lasso is now my comfort show. Okay.
So you see see the value
of a comfort show, but I also see what I can take from that show, like the lessons that they all learn in that show.
I haven't seen. I'll get to it. It's again. I mean, we're not going to talk because it's another podcast. But I don't have Apple. Maybe I'll get it one day And maybe I'll finally get to watch Ted Lasso. People say I like it, and I will, because I was a big fan of Scrubs. Yeah. So I'm probably gonna like it. But I should.
Oh, and Shrinking now too. You gotta watch Shrinking as well.
All right, all right.
After you finish all of the Star Trek shows, all 400 series.
Sometimes the world is full of opportunity, and finding that opportunity is like finding a needle in a haystack. But for Dan and I, like many other creatives who have more than one set of specific skills, there are multiple needles hidden in multiple haystacks. And that means we have to lean on each other to make it through. More needles is great, but only if they are in the same haystack, and that's not usually the case. So what can you do? Well, you can text and call your friends, especially those you know who are looking for work, whether they are employed or not, or if they're just having a hard time at work. And you don't have to find them a new job or help them network or any other buzzwordy type thing. Just being present and being a friend is enough. It may not seem like it is, but trust me, it's enough. And for that matter, it has nothing to do with career and job, just being social for social's sake. Remember how you used to waste away afternoons with nothing to do and nowhere to go with just a few friends? Remember how carefree and stress-free that was? That's still possible. You just have to make the time to hang out with a friend or two and put the phone away. If you don't put the phone away, it doesn't count. I'm sorry, but that's just how it works. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files episode 148. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact my friend Dan and myself in the show notes. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heitur. Email and comments can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Dan, do you have one final question for me?
I do, but it requires a little setup.
All right.
Pertaining to what I said before, part of my job search council is having a listening tour, and we have certain questions. So there are 3 questions that you ask.
Okay.
So, Palmer, I'm going to ask you these 3 questions.
All right.
But pertaining to you.
Okay.
Okay. What is it that you do well? What is it something that you could work on? And where do you see it go? Where you see it taking you in the future?
Okay. So so the first was, what do I do well?
Yes.
I'm pretty organized. And I'm really good at preparation, which I think falls in line with the organization. If I was going to be very specific, I've gotten very good at editing audio, and I think having done some like vertical video promos, I'm getting better at editing video. Though probably not as good as audio, because there are too many things to hide that I know all the tricks for in audio that I don't know in video. But that's just practice, right?
That's just practice.
So I guess that would lead into the second thing, which is to work on. I could probably, with more practice and experience, get as good with video as I am with audio. And then what's the third one? Where does it take me in time?
Yes. What can you do to utilize these skills?
I mean, I think right now, I'm already doing it. But the level of success would be determined by me as, hey, I'm doing it, these things are good, but I'm not making any money. So other people's level of success in this would be like whatever. But like, I have, and you're no exception, I have a lot of creative friends. And the first thing I said was that I'm organized and I'm good at preparation. And so I usually bother a lot of my friends about their projects because I'm willing to help them either get them organized or prepare to work on them or what have you. And a lot of the time, because I'm good at editing audio and I'm okay and learning in video, a lot of those things that end up being multimedia in some capacity, I can help on the execution of in some capacity. Okay. And so it's, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. You're here, so it's easy. But like I do have like maybe 5 different individuals in my life right now who I'm either pushing to work on their next creative endeavor, pushing to finish their existing creative endeavor, or pushing to get started.
Right. And for me, I have to get pushed to get started.
And so I feel like I'm, and you know what, to the same extent, myself. Like I have other creative pursuits beyond the blog and the podcast that I have slowly started to work on.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned the video, or I've been mentioning the video for a bit because I've been working on it as I've been recording these last few episodes. So it's come up and I'm putting on it. There are other things in the works.
Yeah.
And
it's tough when life gets in the way too, but you know,
that's where the
time management comes in.
Part of it's time management, but if you go back 147, whatever, if you go back to the very beginning of this show and the pre-production of episodes 1, 2, and 3, and even the pre-production before I started the podcast.
Yeah.
The argument I always had for like Grant Markham, Bill Sweeney, Jason the Angry Ginger, Dave Meyer, Diamond Dave Meyer. Let's go with all the names, right? The Kilty
Chris
one.
Meyer, the Myers is.
My argument was always that I didn't have a me when it came to podcasting. Like I was helping Bill promote. I was helping 7 Days a Geek produce behind the scenes with coordinating schedules and news items and all that. Like I didn't have a me.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. It's just I'm one of those people that doesn't think to do it for myself.
but that's what I think. I don't know if we said it on this recording of this or that's what I am like the worst. I can help promote anybody. I could help promote. I am the biggest promoter, the biggest seller when it comes to things that I like, but I am horrible at promoting myself.
Yeah, I mean we all are, but I think that's that next step, right? Like I have to do this for Dan and I have to do this for those other people I won't throw under the bus at this time because I'm feeling nice, but I also have to do it for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's at. And I think that to take it a step further, the measure of the success is in 10 years, I expect there to be, with my help, maybe not in name, but at least in behind the scenes, 3 or 4 published written works, 1 or 2 musical things, and a couple video things that I have helped bring into the world. I don't know which of them is going to fall by the wayside just because of time, because of life. I mean, all those things, but it's not going to stop me from trying to get all those things out. Some of them are mine and some of them are other people's.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But nobody ever asked that question in my interviews, Dan. So like, you know.
Well, now I just did.
Do I get the job?
Yes, you do. You could be my producer.
Nice. Sweet. Well, then we have to go so we can get to work.